Hi, so this is my presentation. It's Physics 31A, Misconceptions in Media, Legolas Jumping on Falling Blocks by Juan. So we have a little short video here that we're gonna watch. Yeah, as you can see, he's he's it looks like he's jumping on falling blocks, which uh I think breaks a lot of laws of physics. I don't think this can happen in real life. And let's kind of go into why. Oops. So what is being misunderstood here is Newton's first law, Newton's second and third law. The second law partially, we're gonna kind of go over it a little bit, and gravitational force. Yeah, these are pretty common misconceptions, and I'm gonna be kind of breaking it down in the next couple of slides. It describes a state where an object remains at rest, uh, an object in motion. It states that an object that's in motion will continue being in motion, and an object at rest will stay at rest. And how does Legolas break this law? He's a stationary object that's on top of a object in motion, right? And uh, for him to have an external force applied onto him, it's highly unlikely from the falling block because that is not an external force. Uh, it's just they're both together falling down straight. So you can say that these two objects together are in a free falling state. And for him to have an external force act upon him, there's there's nothing that's there's nothing externally acting upon him, meaning he's just falling down. And in Newton's second and third law, it also just kind of describes what I just said, where the force acting upon an object is equal to the mass of an object multiplied by acceleration. That's Newton's second law. It describes a state where an object times how much it's accelerating is equal to the force it it exerts, right? And for Newton's third law, it describes every action has an equal and opposite reaction or force, meaning if Legolas is kicking off, uh, he is kicking off a block. Technically, the block should also be pushing up against him. But once again, he's in a free falling state. The objects are falling with him, meaning he's ignoring the gravitational force of the object and on himself, and he's ignoring that both the objects are in a free falling state. So whatever just happened for him, it is not possible. And I drew a constructive model of what should have happened. And if we can see, let me try to zoom in a bit. I can't. But as we can see, for this model, we have him jumping on a couple of blocks here, and I drew a free body diagram of the gravitational forces adding together. Um, Technically, he, once again, should be subjected to the same gravitational force the block is experiencing, meaning he should just plummet straight down, and there's nothing he can do about it, since he, since he's in a free falling state. And I calculated both the masses of I calculated the forces and the masses of him and the falling block, which is a stone, but it doesn't really matter too much because the gravitational force is just mass times gravity, and the masses combine together, and that's just the rate he's going to be falling at. Yep. Would this have been possible if we ignored some laws of physics? Technically, yes, but technically no, because uh, according to the law of conservation, uh, it states that in isolated system, the total momentum of two or more objects acting upon each other will remain constant unless there's an external force applied, right? So let's just say that we're looking to see if this can be true, and we'll just say it applies to his scenario. And if we take a look at uh, the law, we need the mass and the velocity of Legolas and the object. And if we take a look at a government site, we can find the average mass of 5'11" male is, which is the height of Legolas, and we can also find the density of the block, the stone block, and I kind of figured the block was about a fifth of Legolas' height, and that's how I found the mass of the block and the mass of Legolas. For the velocity, for initial velocity, I saw him in a running position start, so I was being very generous. I gave him the fastest velocity possible for human that a human can achieve, and the velocity of the falling block that's falling down would be about uh 1 point it'd be about like 1 meter, right? And if we plug in the numbers, and also for the v final of the block, I said it was just going to be 0 because the block will eventually touch the ground and become 0, right? And we're assuming Legolas is crossing the platform and he's making it across. So in this scenario, if we plug and chug, we can find out that the final velocity of Legolas as he reaches across the platform would be my bad, as he reaches across the first block would be about 0.5811 meters per second squared. And in the video, I dissected it and see how many blocks he stepped on and how long it took for him to cross. It took him 11 seconds to cross 13 platforms. And in one platform that I calculated, it took him 1.72 seconds to cross. If we bring even more laws of physics and assume that the blocks are kind of in like a, kind of like you could say more of a stationary step, he will take at least 23 seconds to cross 13 platforms. And if we factor in the laws of physics, or if we factor in the conservation of momentum, this is not possible. Yeah, because it takes him way longer to cross than uh in a video. So yeah, and here are my citations for what I just explained. Pretty cool stuff.